Hello, hello, hello out there. Happiest of Fridays. Happy Friday night, where I am. Hello, my love. Glad you're in the chat. Oh, it has been a week, y'all. What has your week been like? My week, it's been a doozy. It has been a doozy. So I'm going to move some things around on my desk, lots of stuff to show and talk about and share. But also, I want to do the thing I do at the beginning of each of these sessions, streams, all the things. I'm going to start by saying hello. Oh, let's fix this camera. Ooh, I swear this camera it just moves on its own some days. Just stop moving. All right, y'all. Sorry about that. It's going to be a little tricky, or it's going to be finicky. So hello out there in YouTube world. My name is Kiala Givehand. Thank you for being here. If you're watching live, thank you for being here live. If you are watching on the replay, thank you for that as well. Thanks for watching the replays. Man, the questions are coming in and the comments are coming in faster than I can, or the questions and emails, questions via email are coming in faster than I can respond to them. So I just want to say, before I say more here about what I'm doing, those of you that have sent me emails in the last 36 hours, give me a little bit of grace. I promise I will get to your question, either responding to you via email if that feels more appropriate, or talking about it here live if I think it will benefit the collective. Okay, so it's Friday, April 12th, and I am on day 12 of my ABCs of Me vlogging series for the month of April. And today is the first day where I am like, what in the world was I thinking? But only because I've had a tough week. It's been a tough week. And it ended on a really, really tough day. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about that part, other than to say I'm a real person back here, y'all. Real person, living life, doing life, all the things. And yeah, the human part of all this, it can sometimes come closing in, crashing in on you. And so I will just start by saying I'm usually in a pretty upbeat kind of mood. And not to say that I'm not in a good mood right now. I'm just in a very reflective mood. Let's say that. Reflecting a lot on life and choices that we make. And yeah, I'm trying not to sound too cryptic also, but just to be kind of universal as a human. We all have these days, right? We all have days where we're like, oh my God, life is amazing. And then we have days where we're like, really? Can I get a do-over? I think I need a do-over. So today, maybe not even today, maybe it was 2 days ago, I could have used the do-over in retrospect. I would have done 2 days ago, I would have done things very differently and would have made some different choices. And yeah, there's not a lot of things that get me in this kind of energy. But when my heart and my integrity come into question by others, man, that just, yeah, it puts me in a certain kind of energy. So I don't want to bring all that over here to you all. So what I'm going to say is art, creativity, community, and the love of my husband are the things that get me through all the crap that life tries to throw at you, tries to throw at me. And I hope that you all also have your art and your community and somebody who loves you dearly, to keep you tethered to your truth, to your authenticity, and to who you are in this world. Especially if you are one who is in service to others. 95% of what I do in the world and have always done, for a job, for a livelihood, just because, has always been in service. And so I'm in a reflective kind of moment. All right, but I'm here. I'm showing up. And that, I'm going to count that as a win for today. Today is day L, letter L. Hi, Odelia. Oh my God. Seeing your name in the chat makes my heart so happy. Thank you for being here. Oh, what a beautiful reminder. Yeah, of community. And Tracy. Oh, hi, Tracy. Tracy, Odelia. Oh, y'all don't even know. This is what I mean by community can shift things. Like, I'm almost brought to tears in this moment. The two of you, I think you both individually know what you mean to me, and who you are to me in my community. And the fact that on this hard day, to the end of a very hard week, the fact that the two of you are in the chat right now, I'm going to take that as a little bit of a hug from the universe, that everything's going to be good. Everything's going to be good. So with that said, welcome. If you're still here listening, thank you for being here. It is day L, letter L. And today, get a little piece of paper here. Today we are going to talk about, things. What are the things? The link looks broken. Oh, yes, I'll take a look at it. Thank you. And thank you for sending me the love and the blessings. And also to both of you, huge congratulations. Brand new soul collage facilitators. Love that. Cannot wait to see what goodness the two of you bring into the world. Your entire cohort, such a great cohort you all had. It was my honor to be your trainer. So I can't wait to see the magic and the love that y'all spread in the world. All right, so letter L day. Let's see. We're going to talk about leather journals. As you probably could tell, when I turned the camera on, there were tons of leather journals on my table. So we're going to talk leather journals. Let's also talk a little bit about labyrinths, because those are big in my world. Let's talk about lettering. And Lunar letters. That's one of my signature programs. It has now been rolled into my other signature program, which is Pull Pen Paint. But for about 4.5, 5 years, Lunar letters was a standalone thing. So I'll talk more about that in a moment. Let's talk about lifelong learning. So many layers to that I want to talk about. And what else? Oh, we have to talk about Lenormand. In fact, we're going to pull from a Lenormand deck today. And I'm just looking at my little list over here. Let's talk about legacy and lifestyle. All right, that's a lot to get through, but I think we can do it. I think we can do it. And by we, I probably mean me. I mean, if there's time. I love it, Damon. That should have been at the top of the list. Thank you. Life Alchemy Academy. And Tracy says lavender. I love it. Yes, I could totally talk about lavender. Yeah, let's see if we can squeeze it in there. Um, lavender, and there was one other thing I was going to add. Lifestyle, life alchemy, legacy, lavender. Oh, something came to my brain. Oh. Let's not leave out Leo and Libra. We'll see if we can get to those. Okay, that's a lot. That's a lot, y'all, because I said I wasn't going to be on here for days and days, for hours and hours. So let's see what we can get through as we do this. All right, so let's start by talking about Lenormand. I'm going to pull, I've been pulling a card at the beginning of every session. And, nope, not that. Wrong deck. That one. Okay. So Lenormand is, and I did. Yep. Damon said I already gave mention to love. Love is a big one. But I feel like, I want to just put love on the list because we need love to be everywhere. Everywhere. Let's just put it like that. Love, love, love. Okay. So, all right, Lenormand. So Lenormand is another card deck system for divination. This one is really, really specific to predictive readings. Any card deck can be used for prediction, but I feel like predictive readings are really, really great with Lenormand. Right now in my Life Alchemy community, we are studying Lenormand. This is week 2 that we're in right now of a 5-week series being taught by g.r.i.t.s of Red Light Readings. She's an amazing teacher. She's been a Lenormand reader. She reads professionally, in person, online. She presents at conferences all around divination and empowerment through these tools. And so we feel pretty lucky to have V teaching for us in a really beautiful journey together through Lenormand. So I am still pretty new to Lenormand, so I consider myself definitely a novice. I understand the nuances of the system, but I just haven't used it enough. Like I understand the structure. It's 36 cards as opposed to like tarot 78. Oracle cards can be any number of cards in the deck. But Lenormand does typically have 36 cards. Some decks will have extra cards, depending on the deck creator, the person who created the deck. I showed you all, I think on the very first day we pulled, I pulled cards from this little mini Lenormand deck, Erica's Lenormand of Hope by Erica Robinson. I think I showed you all her book as well, Language of Lenormand. It's kind of one of the textbooks that we're, encouraging people to get who are going through the Lenormand class with us. And so it's really so where the reason, not the reason, let's see. I like to think of tarot as archetypal. It's definitely symbolic, but it's more archetypal. Whereas Lenormand is more symbolic. It's the thing that's on the card, right? And that's it. And so it is, yeah, it's a system that's just like we do with tarot. You can use it for all the things, all the readings. Okay, so I was thinking about, so this particular deck, I was trying to find, this is Lenormand Everywhere, and this is by Kristen Radden. This is a photographic Lenormand, which is different than what you might typically see with Lenormand decks, but I love it for that reason. I think it takes it out of the sort of traditional Lenormand look. And I'm going to tell you, I was kind of looking around in my room here just now. I don't think I have a traditional Lenormand deck. I think all the Lenormand decks I have are pretty modernized, revised, revamped, reimagined. So I'm not a Lenormand expert, so I'm definitely not going to try to give you any history about Lenormand. But what I will say is that Lenormand has a history not as long as tarot, maybe, but it does have its own history. It has a way that you read the cards. It's very much cards are based on each other and what's around them and the placement and the directionality of things. But the way I have come to understand it up to this point is that Lenormand is really a little more blunt and abrupt than tarot. Tarot's more kind of like, come give me a hug and let me tell you all the things that are gonna happen here. Lenormand is like, nobody has time for that. Here's what's happening and this and this. Okay, now go. That's what I'm coming to understand. All right. So Odelia says, I was chatting with Erica Robinson. Her book came in yesterday. Ooh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Chatting with her as in reading her book, or like you actually know her and was chatting with her, which by the way is crazy that the bird card flipped out, because the birds I think are like that chatty energy. They are the chatty energy. I think like excitement, chatting. So when I read that, this card fell out. That's how freaking accurate this system is in that moment. I love it. Okay, so let's do it. Right now, this week, V graduated us to 3 card readings. And I'm not really sure how. I think Lenormand can be used for collective reading. We're going to do it right now. This is going to be a collective reading for all of us. And I'm going to pull 3 cards. One. I don't know why I do that. I could just go 1, 2, 3, couldn't I? 2. But I kind of like to shuffle, put them back, scoosh, 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 and go. All right, so 3 card reading. Let's see. Yeah, we're just gonna see what it says. I didn't ask a question. I think you don't necessarily have to come to it with a question. You can just throw cards and see what shows up. So let's do that. Card 1, man. Card 2, stars. Card 3, fox. Okay, I'm gonna sit with it for a moment because I'm still learning Lenormand. So I know that whenever the man and the woman show up, it usually has to do with someone in your life, like a man or a woman. Or if it's a man asking the question, or it could be a male friend, a partner, a family member, or it could just be saying masculinity. You need to bring in that masculinity energy into your life. So because we're reading for the collective, we're gonna say it's the masculine energy that we are calling in. And then stars, I'm trying to remember, y'all. I don't have all of these quite remember, but what I do remember star because I think it connects back to the star card in tarot, which is all about hope, inspiration, spirituality too, I think, for Lenormand. Optimism. Okay, I'm gonna sit with that for a minute. And then the fox card is all about, it's so funny, this fox card keeps coming up in the community. It came up for 2 or 3 people in class the other day, and here it is again showing up. But the fox card If I'm remembering right. I don't know that I am remembering right. Anybody out there want to drop me some pointers on the fox? I know something about trickery, being clever, something about, oh, for some reason I remember it also. I was like, oh, that's odd. Self-care, I think, also for the fox card. So, okay. The way we're learning, A plus B equals C. So I'm just going to say, I don't know that I can read this collectively, but I can definitely read it on a personal level. And I'm just going to say, Damon brings lots of hope and optimism to my world and often reminds me to take care of myself, right? Like that would be how I would read it, sort of as, and if I lean into that, it can be like self-care, because I think this is more like outcome. So if I think of this as a collective, if we embrace our own sort of assertive masculine energy, it will help us to feel more hope, be a little more optimistic. I feel like I want to add a few other bits there. Maybe connect into our spirituality a little more, which can lead us to self-care, which can be a way to get some self-care. So that's what I'm going to say. Tracy says, the fox curled up makes me think of self-care. Yeah, that part. All right, so those are our 3 cards. Man, stars, fox. Let's see what comes of that. All right, I'm going to put the cards up there like I always do. I will drop a link in my description after the call, after the live stream, where you can check out Kristen's Lenormand Everywhere. It has she curated some really beautiful imagery for the cards. I love this one for the rider. It's like you are the rider. You can just imagine yourself on the bike. I just imagine my arms outstretched. I'm not touching the handlebars, and I'm just rolling along in the breeze of the day. But I'm learning these cards a little bit more, right? The dog is all about loyalty. Key could be about secrets. Not quite sure about that one yet. But Kristen did a good job of, I believe, curating. I love this book. As the book, that sort of old-timey, old-school book energy. So yeah, it's a really book. And she did a fist banging on the table as the whip, instead of like what we think of as an actual whip, or what we have come to understand as an actual whip. Oh, I love this. I've never been, well, that's not true. In September, I want to say that in September at Squam Lake in New Hampshire, it kind of looks like this. Like it has this kind of energy. So those are some of the images. And I love this deck because of this card right here, right? You know that, right? Yes, you all know that. Odelia says, I love Lenormand, but when I saw you were reading Erica Robinson's book, I ordered it because of your recommendation and because Spirit said yes. I wrote her on Instagram about the cards and on the book. Yeah, her deck is lovely. I have the little version, the mini version, but it's a really beautiful, it's just a beautiful deck. Beautiful imagery. And I love the way she has laid out and written the book. It's a really, yeah, I think really well done. Okay, so that's Lenormand. It's the, I heard V say once, it's the younger baby sister of tarot. It's the one that's like behind the bleachers, kissing when they're not supposed to be, kind of energy. So I thought that was fun or funny. All right, let's talk leather journals. Okay, so I make a lot of types of journals. Y'all know that. But there was a time where when I thought I was going to be a solely leather bound journals. In fact, let me grab a couple. Hold on. Others. And I'll show you the book that made me change my mind about that. I'm gonna move this out of the way. It's creating this crazy pants shadow that's driving me bonkers. Okay. All right. So at one point in my bookbinding career, I thought, oh yeah, or in bookbinding during the MFA program, I was like, oh yeah, leather is my jam. It is my jam. I love leather. I love making things with leather. And I made, where are you? I want to say, was it this one? It was this one or one like this one. 2017. Nope, it wasn't this one. But it was similar to this. It was just like a little leather bound, just small, maybe a little bit bigger. And we just did a basic stitch on it with some paper that was like handmade paper. And we used a little leather strap. It was pretty much identical to this one. Okay. And I was like, oh, I am digging this. I mean, it's just a piece of leather that we cut and we stitched. And it was just that. Okay. Fast forward. That was our introduction to leather binding in that program. Then we learned how to make this journal. And this journal has a leather spine with cording and a hardcover. Oh my God. Oh my God. This book made me go, yeah, no, I don't want to be a leather bookbinder. No, thank you. I'm good. I'm good with that. This was really hard. This was so much work. So much work. So much like smoothing on the, oh, I can't even describe. Like, even when I look at it, I just like, I don't even want to write in the journal because of what it took for me to do this. So, I mean, we had to learn how to make headbands, and we had to learn how to do these little notches. I mean, I'm proud of this book. And when I was done with it and I got my A on this book, I was like, I will likely never make another one of these ever again, which is why I was like, this one is going to just probably stay blank forever and ever, because it's just, it was a lot. We had to sew this with all the parts, everything. We did all of it. We did every single thing, putting on the end papers here, measuring every, I mean, it was, we did the stitching and the sewing of it. Oh, I feel a little something even holding this thing in my hands. It was a lot. And everything had to be just so. Now, if you look real close, you'll see that my stuff isn't all lined up. Okay. Don't look too close. But if you were to look closer, you would see that, you know, my spacing from here to here kind of went, kind of skewed a little bit, but it doesn't matter. I am ridiculously proud of this journal that I made with all of these intricate moments and parts. There's a tool you use to get that leather. You have to warm the leather up. I mean, it is so much. Okay, so that pretty much made me go, yeah, I don't think I want to do leather. But then I started buying leather journals, like the little traveler's notebook. This one was a company back in the day. She was called Foxy Fix. I don't think she still makes them. I think she made a few and then stopped. Or I think maybe she did a few years and then stopped. But I started buying these little leather journal, traveler's notebook style journals. I eventually bought the Midori, which I'm sure a lot of you know Midori. You probably have a Midori traveler's notebook. It was all the rage for a while. I think it still is in some circles. I haven't opened this thing in forever. Who knows what's in here? I'll have to take a look. This used to be my tried and true leather traveler's journal or traveler's notebook. Then I came across, what is her name? Let's see if it's on here, if I can remember. Not that one. Oh, shucks. Okay. I can't remember her name, and I think I actually sold the journal cover of hers that I owned. Chic Sparrow, I think. Yeah, that. So I came across her, and it was like a whole world of leather and traveler's notebooks and all the things. Fast forward, I then found Rowena, who goes by, this is her symbol, but what is her, let me see. Can't remember the name of her brand. Maybe she's Sojourn. No, Retro Tours, RetroTours, RetroWTURES. And I think she still makes them. Her name is Rowena, and she's on Instagram, and you probably can find her there. I'll put a link to her and her stuff. But I started buying her notebook covers. So this was, I think this one was the first one that I bought. I just loved, I thought she had really beautiful craftsmanship. I loved the pockets and the way she did her pockets. I just, and then her story, I'm just looking to see what's in here before I open it up in front of everybody. You never know. Oh, how funny. I forgot about this journal. Okay, so this was from 2018. Ooh-wee. The Great Adventure. Yeah, we were going on a great adventure. Remember that, babe? 2018 and what that turned out to be? Talk about being a lifelong learner. We are always learning lessons, y'all. So I started following Rowena and her work, and I loved her story, female owned, craftsmanship impeccable, just beautiful. So I really, now just to be clear, when I tell you all about people who I follow and I love their stuff, please know that I don't, unless I tell you I know them personally, I don't know the people personally, right? So I can't speak to who they are as people. I'm speaking to their work product and to the tangible goods that I have from them, or in any event, if I'm working with them as a service provider, then that work. But I just want to be clear about that, because I think sometimes the lines get blurry, like, oh, I can't believe Kiala's endorsing that person. I'm endorsing the product and the person behind the product. I can't speak to who they are as people unless I know them. So I don't know her personally, but her work, her story that she has shared online at the point at which I started following her, I really resonated with it in a lot of ways. So, and then this is a little cover that I use from time to time. I really love like this leather. Okay, so first of all, to all my vegan friends, I love y'all. I know that you have your own, personal feelings about leather, and I respect and honor that. No shade in your direction on your choices around that. And yeah, I don't advocate for, harm to animals in any way. And I think there are companies out there that I think have good practices around it. So I want to just trust that I'm supporting a company that has good practices around it. All right. So that's my little spiel about that. But there are people who make these same kinds of covers that are not leather that you can find. I mentioned Brie from Documented Journey the other day with cork, traveler's notebooks, and things like that. So you can always check her out. Okay. So then I started following Rowena and her work, and really like, oh, that's weird. So then this was the third one that I bought from her. Let me see what's in there before I open it up. Listen, y'all, I never know what's going to be in these things when I open them up. So I have to be a little bit cautious before I start opening things. Oh man, I love these journals. Oh wow, I got to go back through this one. Okay, so wow. Look, I came across a face that I drew in there. Telling y'all I've been drawing faces. So anyway, I think I can open this to, I don't know. I'm just gonna say this one holds two journals. It's not a traveler's notebook, but it holds two distinct journals in there. It is not, I'm not gonna say it's meant for that in any way, but it can. You can put one on one side and one on the other, and you end up with two journals in one cover. And I really love that. And it's sturdy. I love this sort of ragged edge that she had here. I love the red stitching. Just a really beautiful leather journal. Okay. Then I found or came across and learned about gosh, what is her name? Leather Tea. Leather by Tea. Hold on. Let's see. I have 3 of her journals. That's one. Or I have a journal and this little pen pouch. I think I showed you all my other journal by her on the day when we were talking about journals, and I said I have a commonplace journal. Well, my commonplace journal is this one, and this is the one that I use all the time, and it is like a traveler's notebook. You can put multiple journals in there, and all of these are handmade journals. And then this one I got from her. Gosh, I wish I could think of what her name is. This one is my Soul Collage journal in here. And so it's just a standard like journal that you can buy at like Target. Like that's how basic the journal is that's in here. But again, it just fits inside these little pockets, and it's really more of a cover than anything else. What I loved about it is the 2 pin loops, or you know, you could put 2 pins in, or like I tend to do, you can put 1 pin that goes through both loops to kind of keep the journal closed. So I liked that. I thought that was cool. Damon, I'm laughing at your comment in the chat. So, okay, I can't remember her name, but I want to say it's something like Leather Tea. Leather. Yeah, that's pretty bad that I don't have her information anywhere in here. But I'll find it and put her information in the I think it's called Stitch by Leather Tea, I think is her company's name. Okay, so those then, all of these journals then eventually got me thinking about getting back into making my own journals, my own leather journals, because I did actually, at that time when I made that first journal, I did actually have a little bit of a stash of leather kind of building up. Okay, it started because I was loving it, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to be doing this, and this is going to be my jam, and you know, all the things. So I don't know the order of these, so I'm just going to show some of my handmade leather journals. So what I realized is everything doesn't have to be as sort of perfectly bound as this one. Like I don't have to do it with it. Like I can go back to this original sort of leather journal. And so that's what I did. I just started making from journals that were, or from leather that was, you know, more floppy, more flexible journal, leather. So this is some pink leather that was really, really floppy. I added some handmade paper to the inside of it to give it a little stiffness. Let's see. And so, yeah, then I just stitched in some pages and made it sort of a rounded back instead of like a square back, and added a little strap, right? So this kind of got me, you know, I started going, okay. And this has a little shimmer to it too, this little pink shimmery leather. So I started really going, okay, I'm going to get myself back into working with leather, and just start playing and see what happens. I like leather that has, can't remember what they called it, but like when you bend and fold it, you can kind of see the marks in it. There's a name for that, and it's not sticking in my brain in this moment. I love leather that has like this sort of edge. The edges aren't all straight and perfect. I actually cut this one to be rounded like that. So I just started making journals that were a little more my style of journal, just using leather as my substrate. So I think this one was intended to be like a little watercolor journal. I haven't really done much with it, but that was the point. And I just put a little red strap because y'all know I'd like to have just a little pop of red on things. That makes me happy. And so, yeah, I just started making journals. I would find pieces of leather in different places that I, you know, loved. I would pick them up, and then I'd, yeah, this is some handmade paper that I got from a store in San Francisco called Flax, a while ago. But yeah, I like the sort of rusticy feel. I don't know, it feels kind of old-timey back in the day, leather journals. And I just love how they feel. They are sturdy, and they just feel, they feel strong. They feel like they're going to be an heirloom, like a part of your legacy, you know? They feel worthy of like a wisdom keeper's journal or a grimoire. Like they just have that energy. Speaking of grimoire, somewhere I have a grimoire that is made out of leather. This one is a journal in waiting. I've got the holes poked and everything. I haven't sewn it. I've got the signatures in here waiting. I don't know why I haven't sewn this thing. I better get to that. But there's another one, and this leather is buttery soft. But look at the, like that browning around the edge like that. Just so beautiful. So most of the time, so I started back making these leather journals, and then I don't know, I shared some on Instagram, and people were like, oh, I'd love to buy one. So then I started selling them again, and then I started buying more leather to sell more. And then I was like, I don't want to make journals for selling. And I go back and forth with that, y'all. I will go 2 years and like, I'm not making journals for other people. And then I'll go, I should make a batch of journals and sell them and get them out of here, get this stuff out of here, get these materials out of here. And then I'll make a bunch of them. I'll do a limited run. I'll sell them. And then I'm like, okay, I'm done with that. I'm not making journals for people anymore. I go back and forth. I am hyper aware of that. So those of you, if you're out there and you own one of my leather journals, thank you very much for supporting my sacred making and my work. Here's another one that's waiting. Oh no, this one's stitched. Huh. I thought this one was not stitched. What did I do there? Oh, I see what I did. Oh, look at me. I'm clever some days. This is when I was playing with the idea of hand stitching on leather, which I hadn't done before, like on the actual leather, hand stitching onto it. And I think I did this in the car on a road trip coming back from Canton, Ohio, That's not true. Canton, Texas, with Tiffany Smith and her husband and Damon. The four of us did a little road trip. I think that was our first couples road trip, in fact. But while we were in Canton, oh my gosh, we found this huge vat of leather. And Damon, Tiffany, and I went diving into that thing. Like literally pulling out all sorts of leather. And these two pieces. And so I must have stitched this on the way home in the car. I kind of remember doing that. Huh, gotta love it. Okay, so it's probably waiting on some sort of wrap or closure because it's just kind of flopping open. So yeah, I probably need to finish that. Talk about another unfinished project. I have so many. This, I believe, yeah, this is one that I made after seeing a journal like this in one of the big box stores like Barnes and Noble or Books a Million or something. You know how they have that section. And I saw a journal like this that had this like scalloped edge, and it had this really, I was like, oh, how did they get that? You know, and it just had this really interesting closure that I was like, oh, and once I took pictures, I took a lot of pictures of it, and I was like, oh, and I realized they had done something a little different, but I did it this way. But I loved the rustic. They used, theirs wasn't exactly like this, but it was like a twine, almost like a hemp rope, and I was like, oh, I like that. I'm gonna try to recreate that. And of course, I know this stitch, so I was like, okay. And I had leather at home, so I saw it. I took a bunch of photos of theirs, and then I came home and I backwards engineered it. And turned it into my my little grimoire here. So that is another one. And I, you know, I learned a lot about, because this was the hardest stuff to pull through leather. It was like fingernails on a chalkboard, if I'm being honest. It did not feel good. But I had already committed. So I went ahead and finished it, but I probably would never use this. This is like, I want to say it's almost like baker's twine, and horrible. But I love the look of it. I'm not going to lie. I love how it looks, but I probably would never do that again because it was so grating on my, it like made every hair on my back stand up. It was too much. So there's that. Let me grab one more. This one was another sort of experiment. I was experimenting with the leather strap. I don't know what I did. I feel like I put some sort of glue on this, and this thing is like, anyway, I don't know why I did that, but you know, experimenting, always experimenting. So this was another one that I stitched together. And this was like a little, this was a part of my, I don't know what I was doing with this one. I feel like there's a third one somewhere around here that actually has my, oh, I know what this one was. I taught this one. I taught how to make this one in the Journey Within class back in 2016. Whew. Talk about legacy. So yeah, that's that one. There's things in it, like sporadically, randomly. Yeah, 2016. That was in that class. Huh. I love it. Nature versus nurture. I don't know what this says. I'm trying to read it. I'm like, what? When does nature know to nurture, to raise a child, to build a better adult? It's not the fault of the child. The adult is in control until 5 becomes 15, becomes 25, becomes becomes blame. Spans across 8. I think this is a poem I wrote, but for whatever reason, it's going in this weird order that I'm like, these are my words, but not in this arrangement. It's quite odd. Don't know what that is. So that was 2016 when I did that one for, like I said, for a class that I taught. I was teaching like a book a month. That was fun. I should do that again. Okay. So leather, I try to get leather that has like something unique about it. So here's like a tiny sliver of my stash. But I love leather that either has already been dyed with some sort of unique color. This is like a little mustardy yellow. This is probably I want to say, I can't remember. There's something about this piece that I can't remember what it is. But anyway, oh, I know. I really loved the like stress marks you can kind of see in that. And I just, if I'm being honest, I love the smell of leather. Like I'm sitting here, as I move it around, I can smell the, it's really the oils and things that they use to work with it. But I thought this purple was really beautiful. And I was like, oh, if I put a little bit of purple and yellow together, I think this purple is that same, yep, it is that same piece, came off of this piece. So yeah, I'd like to get colors that are different, I think, and that also have like some character. You can kind of see the character of the animal in there. And then I like it when it has like the markings on it. Like I don't know, I like the weird shapes and the different kind of things. So these are all scrap pieces, right? So in a lot of ways, I'm like reclaiming it so it doesn't go into like landfill or whatever. So this probably will be the next journal that I make. In fact, I'm going to leave it sitting out here. But also, when we lived in Fort Lauderdale, oh, was it Fort Lauderdale or Oakland? I don't even remember. Anyway, I want to say Fort Lauderdale. There is a Tandy leather company. And so I do have a few of their, like you can buy their pieces, you know, just already cut and ready. I mean, to me, they're perfect size for journals. Like you just fold it in half, get your paper and stitch it in, right? You don't have to do a lot to it. You don't have to veg tan it. You don't have to do anything. It already comes with like some texture and all the things. So, and I think you can probably buy these types of things. I know Joann's or Hobby Lobby maybe used to sell where you could buy like a bag of scrap leather in a bag, right? So yeah, I agree, Odelia, that blue and that mustard would look good together too. I think that would actually be really pretty. Okay, so that's a little bit about my leather journey. I will say I don't think I make enough leather journals. I should make more, absolutely. In fact, while we're sitting here talking for the rest of our time, I'm going to cut some of these. I'm going to cut this piece and get it ready. And I'm going to try to make a journal. I haven't made a leather journal in so long, y'all. It is not even funny. Okay, so other things. Any questions for me about leather journals? I'm looking at the time. I know I've been on almost an hour here, so I'm going to talk about these other things. I'll just get this ready to become a journal. I think I'm probably going to go that direction. It's going to be a small one. I think I'm going to cut this. All right, so while I'm working on this, I'm going to go about here. Let's talk about labyrinths. Ooh, So one of the things that Damon and I do when we travel, we each have things that we love to kind of like look for and see. Damon loves sacred sites and things, anything that has, you know, history that really like speaks to the culture and the place of the people. I love that too. And we will, when we travel, we try to, you know, find these places and be in the energy of these places. And so one of my things is labyrinths. I love finding a labyrinth and I've walked a lot of labyrinths. They are very meditative. I was actually introduced, where did I first get introduced to labyrinths? I don't even remember. It's been a while, but I've racked up a lot of labyrinth walks at this point in my journey. I think what I'm going to do is bring in this yellow to make this a little bigger so that I can have a bigger piece so that it can kind of let these two marry with each other. And then I end up with a journal that's more substantial than what I got going on here now. So labyrinths, yeah, they're just, they are a thing for me, apparently. I really love walking labyrinths. They're very meditative, very spiritual, depending on, you know, how you approach them and work, you know, think about them. I'm going to cut this piece. Kind of want to keep this curve going. So I'm just gonna not even try to use a ruler. Just make a piece that can kind of attach to this piece. Just thinking about how I want to do this. Also, you can do a finger labyrinth. Finger labyrinths are really beautiful. Sorry, y'all, I'm doing a lot of thinking and pausing here as I tend to do. And so, all right, I think I'm just going to commit by doing a little cut here on this. So I had been walking labyrinths for a couple of years, and then I came across Catherine Anderson and her work in soul collage and labyrinths. And oh my goodness, like instantly I was like, okay, she's my people. She's my people. And when I did my training for soul collage at her home, at the time she lived in North Carolina, and she had a labyrinth in her yard, 2 of them actually, maybe even 3. And I just remember being like, wow, one of these days I'm gonna have a labyrinth in my yard. Like that just feels like it's supposed to happen. And so yeah, so Catherine and I had lots of conversations about labyrinths, and it was just a whole, yeah, it was just a whole thing. And so I try to walk a labyrinth every birthday. I don't always get to do it, but when I can, I do walk a labyrinth on my birthday. Kind of symbolic. I took my family on a labyrinth walk. My aunties, my mama, my cousins, my uncle. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. I had an amazing, like, I cried like a baby that they all showed up on my birthday to walk a labyrinth with me. It was pretty magical. All right, so I'm feeling like we got something going here. I thought the blue was going to be the inner, but I think it's going to be the outer. I'm going to do some stitching here to bring those two together. And then I kind of want to honor the curves of this by kind of doing this, but I'm going to wait until I have it kind of stitched together. There's a part of me that just wants to stitch it by hand, but I think I want to run it through the machine actually. That's going to be nice. That's going to be nice. Now I'm feeling like I want it to go this way. Oh, goodness. Make up your mind, woman. Yeah, I like that. All right, so I'm actually going to clip that so I don't forget that this is actually what I want. This is kind of overkill, but I'm going to use this big clip because it's the only thing I can reach. So all that to say, labyrinths. I've thought a lot about becoming a labyrinth facilitator. I haven't done it yet, but I have thought about it a great deal. And I likely will one day, but I'm just going to wait until it feels absolutely right. I have taken groups on labyrinth walks and doing journaling and things like that with it, and it's just a beautiful practice, walking labyrinths. Also, I mentioned Kristen. I actually have a finger labyrinth. I'm going to grab it that Kristen gave me, and that's Kristen Radin, by the way. And so you can make yourself a finger labyrinth too. Those of you in Pulp and Paint, there will be some lessons. If we haven't already, I think I already released them. Catherine Anderson taught for us how to make stitched labyrinths and some mixed media labyrinths. I mean, just some really beautiful things. But a finger labyrinth, the idea is if you cannot physically get to a labyrinth, you can make yourself a finger labyrinth that you can just trace the path while you're meditating or doing a gratitude practice. It's intended to be a slow, as if you were walking it, just slowly moving yourself through the labyrinth, centering, breathing, pausing when you need to. And so the way that I was taught to work with labyrinths and kind of what has always felt right is as you're walking to the center, you're thinking about all the things that you are wanting to either pray for, manifest, call in, bring awareness to, whatever, maybe you're sending love and light out to the world, whatever it might be. When you get to the center, you pause here for contemplation. You can even start by asking a question at the beginning of the entrance to the labyrinth. And as you're moving through and stilling your mind and breathing and you get to the center, the idea is that when you get here, you leave it. You drop the question, you drop the worry, concern, doubt, fear, whatever it might be. Take a lot of deep breaths, and then you bring yourself back out and follow that same path out. And as you're leaving, this is the exhale. Coming in is the inhale, basically, right? Not that you're holding your breath the whole time, but it mimics that idea of breathing in, breathing out. And so you're bringing yourself out of the labyrinth. Again, contemplating, releasing, letting go, trusting that you dropped what you needed to drop, and then you're done with it. And then you stop at the exit, also the entrance. You pause, you say some gratitude things, and you come back on into your life. It's a really beautiful practice. So even if you can't physically get to a labyrinth, you can do something like this where you make yourself a finger labyrinth. And this was just on a round wood panel that Kristen used, and she used some painted, looks like painted twine probably, to make this, to make a labyrinth, a finger labyrinth. And I love it. It's awesome. So labyrinths are really great for as a meditative practice. There is a organization called, I want to say Veritas. And they keep what is called a labyrinth locator on their website. You can go there, you can type it in, you can see type in your zip code and see the closest labyrinths to you. There are also people who will come to you and make temporary labyrinths. I think we're going to try to get someone at Sacred Makers to come in and make a temporary labyrinth for us so that we have a labyrinth to walk. It's just such a beautiful practice, and it's so beautifully done in groups with people. All right, let's talk about lettering. I'm going to shift and talk about lettering. First of all, those of you in the chat that are still hanging out with me right now, are you a letterer? Do you not? No, before we go there, do you walk labyrinths? Have you walked a labyrinth? What do you think? And then I'm going to grab some paper here. I'm going to talk about lettering. I'm not a lettering expert. Let's go ahead and name that right out of the gate. I've taken lots of lettering classes from different people. Joanne Sharp was one of them. And I even have a book, one of Joanne Sharp's first books that she wrote about lettering. I have that. And there's one other person I took a lettering class from. I told you all my calligraphy story, my calligraphy horror story. I did take a calligraphy class once. I've also taken brush. It's actually Japanese calligraphy, which is different than sort of Western calligraphy. And it's used, there's a brush that you use that's a little bit different. And I've taken another online lettering class with, I'm in it right now. Hello. Lila Rogers has a lettering course that she does, and I'm currently in that class. Not following the way I need to be because, well, here I am over here talking for 2 hours to y'all instead of lettering. And Boho Berry. Boho Berry was actually the first person I ever took. Somebody asked about Kara. I can't remember if she goes by Kara or Kara. But somebody asked about her the other day. She was Boho Berry back in the day, very fountain pen heavy. She had a subscription box. I mean, she did a lot of wonderful things. I got to meet her in person, but I took her lettering class. It was really, really good. And I mean, I've always been kind of someone who just writes. Like I would get a pen and I would just sit there and just write the alphabet over and over and over again. I used to write my name over and over and over again. Like I just, right? So, I have my kind of little go-tos that I do, but I'm not a brush letterer. I don't do brush lettering or anything like that. When I was a middle school teacher, we learned, they would certain little things tricks of the trade you would learn of how to like make, put these little things on your letters to make them look a little more like, I don't know, fancy. I don't know why we were doing it. But over the years, I would just play. And I'm going to say this again, I am not a letterer. I'm not a lettering artist. I just, know what I like. I think I also, as a fountain pen user, learned pretty early on about upstroke, downstroke, when it comes to um, writing with a fountain pen, and I would try to mimic that by thickening my lines, right? So if I was writing apple, I would come in, and every time I made a downstroke, I would just make that a fatter line, right? To kind of mimic what happens when you use a fountain pen, right? So I would always kind of, that's my up. I would just play and see. And sometimes I hated it, kind of like that. And sometimes I loved it. And so I don't have any real lettering, you know, experience other than the classes I've taken. I just play. I just write. But I tried to take to brush lettering, but I think I have too heavy of a hand to do brush lettering. For instance, I think I have a brush. I think this is a brush pen, yeah. So I don't do really well with the upstroke. I'm great on the downstroke. So like I can come down very heavy. Down. It's the upstroke. It's when I have to go up. I just feel like I don't do a good job. I can't make that transition be smooth. So I just was like, you know what? I'm done trying to be a brush letterer person. Odie says, I have not walked one, but they come into my mark making in my journals. I love labyrinths and spirals. I will find one to walk. Yeah, it's magical. They can be really magical. There's one in near Oakland. You have to hike to get to it, but once you do, it's in this clearing out, and it overlooks this like ridiculous like mountain range. It is, whew, that one blew my mind the first time I walked it. And the hike up there, I was like, oh my God, I'm dying. Then I got up there and I was like, oh, I have so much life. It was like, ooh, it was life-giving. So I would love to hear, what are some of y'all's favorite lettering artists or people that you follow for lettering? The things that I know to do, thicken my lines. I like to do a mix of like lowercase, uppercase, doing this thing where I put the little serifs on the end of my letters. I love to do like sort of the elongated words, or is that what I'm looking for? So like if I'm going to write the word stars, we got the stars card, I might stretch out the word stars like, right. So that's another sort of little technique I learned. Another is elongating going up and down. So really stretching out the letters, making them tall and skinny. It requires a little bit of patience. Right. So again, I'm not fancy with it. I just, and then I like to do little things where I'll go, let's say I'm going to write the word fox. I might write the O really little and then do some dots like that underneath. So I just play around with it and just see, what I like, and what happens when I do things. Like I was not the kid. I still to this day don't know how to make bubble letters. Don't judge me. I know people are like, they're so easy. I don't know how to make bubble letters. Odelia says, not a letterer either, but have always loved writing fancy or my style fountain pen user since I could afford a Schaefer's. Yeah, that part. And there are just some fountain pens that give your hand, if the certain nib you're using can make it look like you're writing calligraphy or writing, doing some fancy lettering, when in fact maybe you're not. Do y'all know these Pilot parallel pens? They are really great for that. I think this blue one probably has some ink in it. Oh yeah, this is the big daddy. So just look at the size of this nib. Like there's no way that I can write regular with this, right? It's like, let's see. It's always going to be a really thick line going up and a thin line coming down just because of how this nib, how big and thick this nib is, right? So it's automatically going to do that thick thin thing for you, right? Also, I think there's a certain way you're supposed to hold these pens. Don't quote me. I'm not good at that. Let's see. But see, it's doing the work. I'm not really doing the work. It's doing. Damon says, I was a bubble letter king. He still is, y'all. He can do those bubble letters like nobody's business. And then this one has a little bit of a smaller nib. Oh, do I even have ink in this? No ink in that one. But the Pilot parallel pens, they come, I think there's like 5 or 6 of them. I only have the 4. They came in a set, I think. One of these other ones has ink in it. Yeah, so, I mean, I can literally, writing with it makes it seem like my handwriting is much better than it actually is because the pen is doing the work. So it's a little bit of a cheat that the pen is doing the work. Right, so it makes my handwriting look like all neat and fancy. So yeah, there's that. Pilot parallel pens. They come in, I think you can buy them individually, but there's also, I think there's a couple others in the collection of these pens. So those might be worth looking into if you want to do some sort of fancy lettering to play with. Okay. What else? Lunar letters. I'm just going to say a little bit about it. It is my writing class where we write with the moon. So we are learning to manifest and write with the moon, how to harness the energy of the moon and where it is at any given moment. And for the longest time, I taught that class separate from Pole Pen Paint, but it just felt weird to keep it separate. So I brought them together. So it is now a part of the Pole Pen Paint program where we write with the moon. Every full and new moon, we get together. I give prompts, I give card spreads, and I teach you about the moon and how that energy, how you can harness that energy and work with it. I go a little bit beyond the sort of 30-day cycle that I think most people go through and work with. I like to think of it as a portal that we're entering. And so I do a lot with that. And then I ask you lots of questions for you to ponder in that particular energy of the moon. So lunar letters, yeah, it's one of my signature programs. And I don't know if I'll ever bring it out of Pole Pen Paint as a separate offering again. It just felt like a lot of work to keep them separate. So we'll see. We'll see what I do. Lifelong learning. Let's talk about that for a minute, because y'all know I started this conversation by saying, it's been a hard week, especially a hard day today with a difficult conversation that I had to have and needed to have. I guess I didn't have to have it, but I needed to have it for my heart to feel in alignment. And so it was a learning process. It was definitely, right? So there's that kind of learning where we're constantly learning lessons. And I talked about this a little bit with human design when I talked on the H day of just how we're always learning. We're always getting those same tests, if you want to call them, opportunities, challenges to grow us, right? And it's like this repeated theme in our lives around, certain things. And if you're not paying attention, you won't see the pattern. Today helped me see the pattern in the lesson that I'm here to learn around this. And there are several. And it was, some lessons are easy, some lessons are hard. And so this was one of those where I'm like, oh, this is a lesson that the universe keeps trying to teach me about trust and friendship and collaborations and business and crossing the line between business and friendship and just a lot of little things, right? And so I'm like, yeah, universe, okay, I hear you again, trying to tell me this, show me this same lesson, teach me this same thing. So lifelong learning, we're always learning. If we're paying attention, we're always learning. We're always given opportunity to learn. Let me say it that way. Okay. Hey, hi, Nomi. No worries. Glad you're here. Thank you. Thank you for the love. I'm receiving it. I receive it, receive it, receive it. Damon says lifelong learning is the mystic song. Sorry, mystic song and dance. I'm not sure if that's what you meant. Music, song, and dance. Thank you. Yeah, it is. It's a constant, like, are we dancing the waltz, the tango, the salsa, the merengue. Is that what it's called, the merengue? Yeah, there's a lot of dancing in life. And so that's one kind of lifelong learning. The other kind of lifelong learning is learning new things, right? Learning a new language, learning to play an instrument, learning about different cultures, learning a particular art technique or skill. All of these things are lifelong learning things, right? I personally feel like when we decide we're done learning, man, I don't actually know what life looks like for a person who's just like, yeah, no, I'm done learning, no more learning for me, not gonna learn anything else new. I feel like there's always something new to learn. So yeah, I didn't go wake up one day and go, I'm going to be a lifelong learner. But when I look back over my life, I'm like, yeah, I'm a lifelong learner. I'm always learning things, something new. I'm always looking how I can expand myself, grow myself, how I can personally develop and grow into this person that I say I want to be in the world. I feel like lifelong learning is a part of my legacy, right? I'm leaving this legacy when I leave this earth. I hope to leave a legacy of curiosity in people. Like, I want people to be curious. I want you to learn how to not jump to conclusions and to instead be curious, to not get self-absorbing, caught up in your own stuff, that you aren't curious enough to sit beside someone else in their pain, in their moments of flaw and mistake, to just say, is everything okay? Is everything okay? Right? To be curious about your own craft, to be a student of your own craft, right? Like, I am a student of bookbinding. I'm constantly refining, I make so many books over here. Like, I show maybe 1 or 2% of the things that I make, the things that I'm making over here in my world. Just because Instagram says I'm supposed to show you stuff all the time doesn't mean I do. It doesn't mean I do. Yeah, so PPP, Lunar Letters is now inside of Pulp and Paint. I see what you're saying. PPP and LLL, lifelong learning. I see what you did there, Nomi. I love it. I love it. Yeah, L's for listening as well, listening and learning. So y'all, I hope that you are letting yourself be curious, letting yourself be a lifelong learner, letting yourself ask the questions that may seem like the hard questions, of yourself too, right? I do that constantly. Like I never, ever, ever, let me repeat this. I never need another person to tell me to look at my stuff. I'm always looking at my stuff on a daily basis. I'm going, how could I have done better today? Sometimes, probably to my detriment, I ask myself that question, right? Even on the days when I have knocked it out of the park, I have had a stellar day. I have been an amazing human. I have been kind and compassionate and loving in every possible situation, scenario. Even on those days, I go, how can I be better tomorrow? So I'm not the kind of person who's walking through life going, just oblivious to my own actions and my own things, right? I am hyper aware. And at 51 years old, I have done so much work on myself that when I have a day like today, I go, wow, what am I missing? What am I not seeing? And at some point, I have to go, I don't know. Maybe it's not me. Maybe it's not my stuff. I don't know. Right. So it's a dance that we're constantly doing. It's a dance that we're going, maybe I wasn't compassionate enough in that moment, and it activated something in someone else. So it wasn't necessarily that I did anything wrong, but maybe I wasn't as compassionate or kind or loving as I could have been. Maybe I, wasn't paying attention. So I try to bring it to the journal at that point. I'm like, all right, of all these journals I have, one of these journals can hold this for me. One of these journals can hold it, can help me process it. Maybe it's an art journal. Maybe it's me just throwing paint on paper to move energy, to shift energy, right? This is something I did after a very difficult phone call today. I had these little offcuts from a project I had done earlier. And I was just like, I need to move energy. I need to move energy around. And so I did. And it helped. It helped a lot. And so I think that that's what art can do for us, right? Art can heal the parts of us that we don't even realize need to be healed in that moment, or the parts that we're just like, I know I need to heal this. Something feels off, right? So I did. And this isn't meant to be any kind of like project or thing. Like I don't have anything I want to do with this. It did for me exactly what it was meant to do. It held energy. It let me take the energy that I was feeling in me and bring it on, put it somewhere else, move it out of me and here. And so I don't know what these will do, where they will go, what they will be. But every time I look at them, I know what they represent. I know what they hold. And even as I look at them, I'm like, oh, it's interesting that they're triangles. They were offcuts from a project that I did today for the Pulp and Paint community. And after the phone call I had, they were just sitting there blank. And I had paint already out on the table. And I was like, I need to move energy. And there may or may not be some tears in these. I don't know. This movement and this fluid and these drips, these drips might be tears. And that's okay if they are, because again, that's what I think is one of the beautiful things about art and journaling. It can hold it. There's nothing that I can bring to my journals and my art that it cannot hold. I know that without a shadow of a doubt. So yeah. Odelia says, stay teachable until we leave this plane of existence and probably beyond. Lifelong learning saves my life. Yes, Odelia. Yep, that part. Oh, Nomi, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I do my best. I'm not perfect. I am flawed and fabulous at the same time. I know that for sure. It's one of my mantras when I turned 50. I was like, I'm 50, I'm flawed, and I'm fabulous. Nomi says, I love that motto. One of these journals can hold this for me. Absolutely. Yeah. And the idea that art moves energy. It absolutely does. Like, just get those pens out, the paint out, the everything out. I am new to, and I'll talk about this on Letter Day In. I'm new to neurographic art, new to it in the last couple of years, I should say. I was actually introduced to it by um, Gabrielle, who is one of our PPP teachers, practitioners. She has an amazing YouTube channel here, and she taught it at the Artsy Marathon, I think it was. And it's something that just keeps circling back into my energy. So I'm like, I think that's another thing that I think would be a good way. I know a lot of people use mark making, doodling, Zentangle, uh, lots of things. Like sometimes I just sit and draw spirals on a paper, and that moves energy, right? It's all, there's no right or wrong. There's no only one way to do it kind of thing, right? So yeah. Um, Damon says, epitome of transmutation, transmuting that energy into art. Love that, Kyla. Oh, love you too, babe. Naomi says, flawed and fabulous merch, please. Yes, let's do it. Let's do it. All right, friends. There's other stuff on the list, but I feel like I'm rambling on at this point. So, but in a good ramble, not a bad ramble. I know. I trust that I'm saying something that is landing with you in your heart, in your soul, something that is going to sit there until you need it and you're ready for it. Or maybe it's resonating in this moment. You all are writing some beautiful things in the chat that are resonating with me. So I trust that it is reciprocal. And yeah, thank you all for being here on this really heavy day for me and for letting me show up both and in all the ways, in my realness and my humanness. And this is what this whole vlogging series was about, is about me saying, you know what? I'm just going to show up. I'm going to show up in the moments when I am like excited about life and things are awesome and amazing. And I have this beautiful, sustainable happiness happening in my life. And I'm also going to show up on the days when I'm like, this day sucked and I want to do over. And also, I wish I had some ice cream sandwiches to make it all better at the end of the day. So thank you. Thank you for being, you all bringing your energy to the space. Always an honor and a pleasure to be here. I wish that, I wish there was a way, I think there is actually a way for me to live stream while on Zoom so we can all be hanging out together, but I don't. Yeah, that feels like more work than I want to take on in this moment on this 12th day of April. So tomorrow, the 13th day, I will be talking about, let's see, this was letter M. Ooh, letter M, mixed media is the first thing that comes to mind. I'll probably bring out the mixed media inspiration deck. And maybe we'll make some art tomorrow. I think I think that's going to be awesome. So come with some mixed media stuff out on your tables. Let's make some mixed media something or other. I don't know what, but we'll figure out something. So tomorrow I'll be talking about mixed media, probably bring in some conversation about meditation. Maybe I can wrangle Damon to come sit beside me and have a conversation with me at the same time while we're painting and doing some stuff. And he can talk about meditation and mindfulness. Those are his jams for sure. I'll talk a little bit about being a mystic. Again, another conversation Damon can chime in on. Maybe we'll talk moony things, since I mentioned lunar letters today. Maybe we'll talk moony things. I didn't get to talk about Leo and Libra, but I'll we got some extra days at the end of the month, so maybe we'll just spend some time on that stuff. Plus, somebody asked me yesterday, I think Angelisa asked me about the intro to astrology class. And so I will have something for you all in the next day or so for those who are interested. I also have a little freebie that I will link to. I'm not going to say I'm going to link to it tonight because I think I probably need to check that link. So give me a day or two, but I have a little astrology freebie for some folks who might want to check that out. I think we'll talk about mental fitness tomorrow, and we'll talk about menopause. Y'all know we're talking about menopause because it's the letter M. Talk about moving some energy around. We absolutely have to do it. Let me check the time for tomorrow. I think I'm gonna go after early afternoonish probably. Let me just double check. I didn't put it in, but I'll put it in tonight and it'll be in there. But tomorrow, yeah, I think I might do something around, it'll be around 11 or 12, somewhere around there. But I'll put the exact time in after this session, after this live stream, and you'll be able to see it on the on my channel showing you that it's upcoming, right? So let me review. So it's going to be meditation, mindfulness, mystery school, being a mystic, moony things, mental fitness. Maybe I'll talk a little more about the MFA experience and what that was like. We're going to talk menopause. So if you don't want to hear about menopause, you might want to skip tomorrow because I am going to talk about it. uh, Oh, and I have on here manila folder books. So maybe we do that. Mixed media manila folder books. So bring some manila folders if you have them. I like to buy them from the dollar store, which is now the $1.50 store, $1.75 store. I don't know, dollar plus. Because you get like 5 in a pack. And with 5, I can make a nice journal. So maybe that's what we'll do. We'll make a nice manila folder, mixed media, something or other journal. And then I'll talk a little bit about Mighty Network because I know some of you have been around me a long time, but you don't know that I have a Mighty Network over there. It looks like there's a couple other things on this list that I have, but I can't read them. So we're going to call that enough. And I hope that you all have a beautiful rest of your night. I know for some of you it's super late, so go get some sleep or rest or whatever you need. I'm going to go and do a few admin things to wrap up my night. And I look forward to spending some time with y'all tomorrow. I'm actually super excited to do some mixed media something or other tomorrow. So come and let's hang out, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you all for being here. Much love. Mwah. Bye. Bye, loves. Have a good one. I love it. I'm already there.